Inclusive employment tips, video 3 of 5, job interviews.
It's really important for employers to tell candidates what to expect in an interview so that people with disabilities have ample time to consider what types of reasonable accommodations they might need in the interview process.
I was asked, when shortlisted, if there were any adjustments I would need to participate in the interview. And there were a couple of quick and easy answers for a totally blind person. One was that the material that was the subject of the interview, the case study and the questions, be sent to me in an accessible Word document electronically beforehand, and that somebody whom I could show how to guide a blind person would meet me when I arrived at the building and get me to the interview space and back out again. That was pretty straightforward and was done really easily.
Really challenge your own biases. There's a subconscious thing that sits in your mind where you're viewing somebody and you naturally might have a tendency to feel sorry for somebody or make assumptions that that person can't do something. You know, I've got a pretty in-your-face disability. I don't even like calling it a disability. I just have different arms and legs. It's a difference. It doesn't mean I can't do anything other than, you know, what you can do.
I think there are ways not to talk about disability in a selection process. For example, tell me about your disability. Well, you better sit back because I'll probably talk for the rest of the interview if I'm not careful about that. But I would ask, what has that got to do with the job? Aren't we just wasting each other's time? I think a more respectful and more productive way is to ask specifically, are there some adjustments you may need to do this job or parts of this job? We've got to nut out together and learn together about what the job may entail and some of how I'd go about doing it that you haven't yet had to think about, and I probably have in previous interviews or in previous jobs.
Whether they have a disability or not, I would be encouraging people to actually ask the question, you know, what are your access and inclusion needs? Are there ways that we can support you moving forward? And I wouldn't be afraid in asking, no matter who is in front of you, whether they are in a wheelchair, whether they have an invisible disability, whether they don't have a disability at all, what are the skills that you bring to this job to make you be successful at what you want to do? I don't think there is anything wrong with asking those direct questions because that person on the other side is going to want to talk themselves up. So give them the chance to share their skills with you.
My advice when interviewing somebody who's autistic is just be very clear and try not to kind of leave it to mannerisms a lot of the time, because I've had times where somebody's told me to do something but I've taken it literally, or I've tried to interpret it in a way that they didn't intend, and as such, I've done it incorrectly to what they've wanted.
Have the questions is in simple language, so I can understand the questions, and sometimes perhaps giving me the questions a day before.
I got an interview which was online, and the thing that really helped me throughout the interview process was that I was given the questions 2 days before my actual interview. It wasn't about, you know, cheating the interview process or system at all. It was about knowing that, yes, I have a brain injury, so perhaps thinking on my feet in a stressful or nerve-wracking environment that is always going to be a job interview was going to be really tricky. So I didn't have to be so overwhelmed and so nervous that when the questions were thrown at me, I was too overwhelmed to actually answer them. So it just took a little bit of that pressure off and I was able to give really good answers to their questions.
So respect, they may be really good at the job, but they just sometimes need to have time to absorb, understand the question to give you the best answers.
The skills required to perform in an interview are very different to the skills required to perform in the position itself. So I would encourage employers to really think about that.
I think that employers should really give people like me, less confident and more introverted people a chance, because it's kind of like hidden gold sometimes, you know. Listen, I think I'm very good at what I do sometimes, and a lot of the time I don't think that some people would do better than me, but I did poor in the interview. I was shocking at it, but that doesn't matter in the end because now I'm here and I did find a career that I think I'd stay in forever.
Inclusion is coming. Don't let your organization be left behind. This is the third video in a 5-part series. This series provides practical inclusion tips you can easily implement for each of the following stages of employment: job advertisements, job interviews, work induction, and workplace culture. We thank Trish Spargo, Michael Taggart, Ronnie Ware, Gavin Berner, Daniela Biaggi, and Lauren Spear for sharing their time and expertise. This video is a Purple Orange production. Get in touch to learn more. 08-8373-8388. admin@purpleorange.org.au, www.purpleorange.org.au.